In 1955, Henry Hill was a boy in Brooklyn, New York, who aspired to become a gangster. Henry had long thought that being a gangster was cooler than being the President of the United States. He always admired the Lucchese family, who set up a business across the street from his house. But he was not a full-blooded Italian, but of Irish-Italian ancestry, so he could not become a regular member. Henry skipped school and ran errands for the local mafia, eventually becoming a member. One day, Henry was caught by the police selling stolen cigarettes for the mafia. Jimmy Conway, who saw that Henry kept quiet about the source of the stolen goods, liked him, and Henry entered the path of full-scale organized crime. Jimmy was not a member of the mafia, but had connections with Policero, the head of the Lucchese family, and was close with him. With the addition of hot-tempered Tommy, the three of them banded together to continue doing organized crime. Time passed and it was the 1960s. Their crimes were successful, and as they forcibly took over places like restaurants and received protection payments, they became rich and lived lavishly. One day, Tommy arranged a double date for Henry, and Henry refused, saying he was busy earning money, but eventually attended at Tommy's persistent request. There, Henry treated Karen with a lukewarm attitude, and Karen was disappointed, but she felt some attraction for Henry. They decided to meet again. Later, on the day of the date, when Henry didn't show up, Karen burst into tears, and Tommy, who felt sorry for her, took her to Henry, who was hanging out in front of the organization's business place. Karen, whose pride had been hurt, yelled at Henry in front of the other gang members, arguing with and criticizing him. Henry was attracted to her because she was bold even in front of the mafia, and the two officially started dating. One day, when Karen was being harassed by her neighbor, who she had known since childhood, Henry immediately went and beat him up with a gun, then entrusting the pistol to Karen, asking her to hide it behind the fan.
Karen, who fell more and more in love with Henry because of his wild character with women, ended up marrying Henry. However, Karen often quarreled with Henry, who lived a dissolute life after marriage, and later even pointed a gun at him after learning that he was having an affair with a woman named Janice.
However, she couldn't possibly shoot her beloved Henry, and eventually was overpowered by him. One day in 1970, a party was held at Henry's store to celebrate the release of Billy Batts, a member of the Gambino family.
Batts joked with Tommy and his girlfriend about his shoe shining work a long time ago, but Tommy reacted coldly, saying that was no longer his role. In the end, Bats seemed to apologize first, saying it was just a joke, but at the last word he threw out, "Tommy, go get your shine box." Tommy's blood boiled and he became very angry.
Tommy tried to attack Bats with a thick dose of curses, but Henry and those around him stopped him, and Tommy left the store with his girlfriend. After the celebration, Bats was a little drunk and was telling Jimmy about the old days, saying that he had been in prison for a long time and that now that he was out, he had to get back to work.
Tommy, who sneaked in from behind, knocked him to the floor. And Tommy and Jimmy mercilessly stomped on Beth, nearly beating him to death, causing him to pass out. They didn't blink an eye at any crime, but they were afraid of killing a regular member of the mafia. They wrapped Beth in a tablecloth and went to bury the body in secret. After some moves such as going to Tommy's mother's house to get a shovel and being treated to a meal by Tommy's mother who woke up, they were on their way to the secret burial place. On the way to the secret burial location, Beth was recognized as being alive by Henry, who heard strange rattling noises coming from the trunk. Tommy was so furious that he stabbed Beth crazily with the kitchen knife he had brought from home. Jimmy then shot him, killed him, and buried him. After a while, the three people who were frightened by the news that a condor was coming to the place where Beth was buried had a hard time digging up and disposing of Beth's rotten body again. Later, Jimmy and Henry were arrested after going to collect debts at the direction of Polly, and it turned out that the debtor's sister was a typist for the FBI. They spent 4 years in prison and were released, but Karen, who had grown accustomed to spending money, was extremely desperate while her husband was in prison. When Karen struggled with this situation, Henry began to engage in drug dealing in earnest to earn money. The earnings were quite good, and it was not difficult to lead a wealthy life again. Polly knew that Henry couldn't help it in prison, but outside of prison, he urged Henry to stay out of the drug trade. Henry went to prison for his work in the organization, but then, dissatisfied with not taking good care of his family, began to commit independent crimes. After he was released, he stole $6 million in cash from the Lufthansa airport terminal and put it into the hands of the organization. Afterwards, a Christmas party was held to commemorate this, but Jimmy, who saw his colleagues who had participated in the robbery buying expensive things, such as a Cadillac and mink coats, was angry and scolded them. The FBI was tracking the money flow of the mafia, so buying expensive items could get them caught. Jimmy ruthlessly eliminated all of his colleagues except for Henry and Tommy to avoid being tracked by the authorities. In 1979, Tommy received a call from a mafia organization that would accept him and dressed up. But it was a trap and he was killed in retaliation for the past killing of Billy Bass. Henry and Jimmy were confused and outraged. But as neither pure-blooded Italian nor regular members of the gang, they were just glad they were alive. This period was Henry and Jimmy's heyday, and the two began to fall into an abyss in despair. The following year, in 1980, Henry's drug dealings started to go downhill, and he became addicted to drugs, leading to an insane day-to-day life. The crimes were accumulating and investigators were closing in, and eventually Henry was arrested by the Drug Enforcement Administration on May 11, 1980. Karen was caught mortgaging her parents' house and released after paying bail. Upon release, Henry said he had found cocaine hidden in the house for a sudden nighttime getaway, but that Karen had flushed it down the toilet for fear of a house search. Henry, already under police surveillance and increasingly on the verge of a mental breakdown, asked police for help, and police put $3,200 into Henry's hands. With the words, "Now I have to turn my back on you," he coldly sent Henry away. Jimmy was constantly worried that Henry, who was addicted to drugs and insane, might have told the police what they had done, and Karen went to deliver the documents to Jimmy a few days later. When Jimmy heard of Karen's circumstances, he handed her some money and urged her to pick up some of the brand name clothes piled up at the corner store. As Karen headed to the place Jimmy showed her, she felt a suspicious energy begin to creep in. She had an uneasy feeling about the increasingly suspicious store and Jimmy's strangely kind behavior towards her. Karen got into her car and drove away, saying that she was busy and would just go to her house.
Seeing that, Jimmy looked toward the store, regretting that he had missed something. Upon arriving home, Henry was puzzled to find Karen crying in fear. After a while, Jimmy called Henry to a restaurant. "If you solve this problem well, everything might work out," he said to him in a warm manner.
Seeing Jimmy make him do something he'd never asked him to do before, Henry had an intuition that this was a trap Jimmy had set to kill him. Eventually, Henry decided to blow it all up before he was murdered. So he told the FBI about Holly and Jimmy's crimes and went into the witness protection program.
As we learned later, Karen and Henry eventually divorced. Henry moved to a quiet suburb of Los Angeles, where he had a heart attack and died. Henry appealed to the FBI for a personal protection program, and a newspaper agency asked him to sell his biography, which he did for $1 million.
Polly got a respiratory disease and died in prison, and Jimmy also got cancer and died in prison. All the characters met an unfortunate end to their lives. Thank you for watching the video, Goodfellas movie plot, provided by History and Current Events. I'm Rebecca, Mia, Katie, Leah, and Tony have contributed so far as narrators. Thank you.